So I'm worth around 1.2 million liquid at the time of this recording, but hitting that net worth number was arguably easier than hitting my first $100,000. That first 100K took me many, many years in my early 20s, technically even late teens. I saved 50% of every single paycheck. I was living at home with my stepmom. I was being as frugal as humanly possible, and I'd saved about 50 grand, put it into a pre-construction property, and technically hit 100 grand of equity in 2021. But the real time I hit 100 grand liquid in my bank account after tax was from my cash flow business, which happened in less than half the time in the year of 2022. I'll throw up a screenshot. I made about 330 grand that year from my online service-based business. And Charlie Munger, one of the greatest investors who ever lived, rest in peace, multi-billionaire, said the first 100,000 is a bitch. It's the absolute hardest money you'll ever make, but you just have to get there like your life depends on it. And he was right. But what he didn't say is what happens after you hit it. Your net worth doesn't just grow, it explodes, like I said in the title. In this video, I will show you why 100 grand is that magic number that changes everything, what actually happens after you cross that, but most importantly, how to get you there as fast as humanly possible. Because once you understand the math, the psychology, and all that stuff, you'll realize why most people quit before the game technically even starts, and I don't want you to be one of those people. So, as mentioned before, I hit my first moment through that cash flow business. If you want to fast track your earnings to make everything I'm about to say in this video a lot easier, I will help you start and scale your own online freelance business. It's beginner friendly, where you sell as skills as service. I'm not going to name drop this gentleman, but the big win this week was a student of mine signing a 1K a month client. You know exactly who you are. I'll throw up a screenshot of the screen. I'm helping others build this as a serious side income so they can eventually quit their job. If you're interested, you're going to apply below. Maybe, just maybe, I'll do a deal for Black Friday. But anyways, why is $100,000 a magic number? I want to explain the math that not a lot of people talk about, right? When you've got $10,000 invested and the market goes up 10% a year, which it did last year in a couple years, even a little bit more, you make $1,000. That's cool, right? That's a new laptop, that's a weekend trip, that's whatever, but it's not like actually life-changing. That's not moving the needle. I'm not trying to sound arrogant there. It's just the truth, right? When you have $100,000 invested and the market goes up 10%, that's $10,000. That is real money. That's what some people save in an entire year, if that. And you made that by not doing anything. You didn't work for it. Your money, your capital is working for you. At 100 grand, your money, in my opinion, starts working harder than you do. A good year in the market could net you 20 or 30 grand, depending on what you're investing in, whether it's the Qs, the S&P, Bitcoin, it doesn't matter. Point is, it is technically passive. That's more than a lot of people's even side hustles. That's the power of the interest compounding at scale. But it's not just about the math either. It's more like a mental, psychological shift that happens at 100K. You stop thinking like a saver and you start thinking like an investor. You have options now. You can weather market crashes without panicking. You can invest in businesses and opportunities when they come up. You can actually take risk because you have this foundation, right? I'm literally making a movement with my hands. The snowball effect becomes real and visible. When you've got 5 grand, a $500 gain doesn't really feel like much, but when you have 100 grand and a $10,000 gain hits, that's getting your attention, right? You start checking your portfolio differently. You start understanding that building wealth isn't about hustling harder. Like I said, it's just about having more capital work for you. So what actually changes after that point then? Your next 100 grand takes half the time, maybe less. I hit my first 100 grand through that brutal discipline like I was talking about. My net worth went from 100 grand to 200 grand in less than a year, and then 200K to 500K, and then 500K to a million even faster. The math is very, very simple. At 100 grand, earning 10% annually, plus let's say you're adding 20 grand a year or $1,600 a month. I'll throw it up in a compound interest calculator right here. You'll hit it 200 grand in about 3.5 years, maybe a little bit more. But getting from 0 to 100 grand at the same contribution rate takes over 4 years, almost 5. The difference is compound interest is doing the heavy lifting for you, right? Market gains start being measured in thousands, not a couple $100, not a grand. Like a 5% market swing on $10,000 is $500. Like, cool. On 100 grand, that's 5 G's. Your gains, your swings in a single day can be worth more than what some people save in a freaking month, right? You can take bigger swings. This is where it gets interesting. When you've got 100 grand, you could start a business with a $10,000 investment and still have that $90,000 cushion, that foundation like we were talking about. You could take risks that actually move the needle because, again, before 100K, you're playing scared. At least I know I was. I was very anxious at that point. After 100 grand, you had that cushion. You can go start whatever business you want. You could take more risks. And again, it's just the anxiety decreases so much. You're not living to paycheck to paycheck anymore. You're not having that mental, voice in the back of your head, and you could survive, say, a job loss for a year, right? You've got options at that point. You have freedom, which is worth more than the number itself. So I want to clear this up first before we get into the tactics of how you can hit this as fast as possible. It's like, why do most people never get there? Most people never get there. It's not because they can't, it's because they quit way too quickly. First, inflation kills momentum, right? Specifically lifestyle inflation. Someone making 60 grand instead of the 40 grand, they get a nice little raise. They need a nicer apartment, a better car, more expensive everything, clothes, food, whatever. That extra 20 grand should have gone to investments. Instead of, trying to look successful, you actually are building money and building your wealth on the inside. A lot of people try to do that opposite, which is retarded, right? Second thing, people don't increase their income aggressively enough. This is what we're going to talk about in a couple minutes, but they think saving alone will get them there. You're only saving $500 a month, dude. That's 6 grand a year. At that rate, it's going to take you 16 years to hit 100 grand. And that's not even accounting for inflation or lifestyle stuff, right? You need to be obsessed with increasing your income. I cannot tell you how important it is. And then third, they invest too conservatively or just not at all, unfortunately. They keep everything in a savings account. You're in 0.5%, a percent. Your inflation, your money is being burned alive right in front of you, right? And then fourth, they give up around 20 to 40 grand. This is like the danger zone. You've been grinding for a year or two. You've got some money saved. It feels slow. I get it. Listen to me. I am only this year starting to finally feel the compound effect of my investments. And it's taken like 6, 7, 8 years of investing, guys. This is where a lot of people will top out. They buy something big. They ease up. They just become pussies on the discipline, right? They lose focus. Please, I'm begging you to not be that person. And the last thing here is you don't have a clear plan or timeline. You should be looking at your net worth monthly. I do all the time. I don't need to as much as I do, but you should be obsessed with this stuff. You're just saving aimlessly, hoping it works out. You need a roadmap. You need a playbook that you can follow and little milestones that you give yourself. So that way, you know exactly how to hit 100 grand and by when. So that goes into my next point. What is most important? Get your notebooks out. What is the roadmap to $100,000 as soon as possible? There's 3 phases. Okay, phase 1, 0 to 10K. This, like I said, is your foundation. It's about building the habit and the base. So you need to cut ruthlessly, cut all bullshit expenses, all the stupid shit, and start saving really aggressively. I am genuinely talking on borderline rice and beans, smallest apartment you can tolerate. Say no to everything that doesn't move you forward. Especially if you have low income, you need to do this, okay? Build your small emergency fund, maybe $1 grand or $2 so you don't go into debt when something freaking breaks. I don't know. And then just invest aggressively. Even if it's $50 a week, just get into the habit. Focus on increasing your income however possible. This is extra shifts. This is freelancing some stuff, selling stuff, whatever. I don't care. Whatever extra dollar you make, that goes straight into investments. This is the timeline. If you're aggressive, I genuinely think anyone with a fucking brain, and if you're 18 or older, can do this in 6 to 12 months, depending on your income. This is important here. So 10 grand, 6 to 12 months from now. Phase 2, 10K to 50K. This is the grind. This is the hardest phase by far. This is where a lot of people will quit. Your progress is going to feel slow, but you're going to be working really, really freaking hard, right? You're still sacrificing, but the number just isn't really moving fast enough. But please stay disciplined. This is where it's important. This is what I did. Automate your investing so you don't even see the money hit your checking account. If you get paid, it goes straight into your investments before you spend it, okay? Avoid your lifestyle inflation at all costs. You'll be tempted. Your friends are going out, buying new stuff, traveling, whatever. You need to stay focused. This is temporary pain for a lot of gain in the future, okay? This is also where you should be learning about cash flow and businesses, how to make money outside of your 9 to 5, because saving alone is not going to cut it. You need to increase your income drastically, okay? 1 to 2 years to get from 10 to 50K if you're hustling hard enough and increasing your income. And then this is where it gets exciting. Phase 3, okay? 50K to 100 grand. How do we add another 50K on? How do we double it? This is the acceleration part, okay? This is where it starts to get exciting. You'll start noticing compound interest showing up here. A good month in the market might net you $2,000 or $3,000. That's real money. That's what, like, net, that's almost what I was making a month at my old job. So double down on everything that's working. If your side hustle is making money, fucking scale it. If your job is paying well, maximize that. Scale that. If your investments are growing, keep feeding it, right? Consider larger opportunities too. Maybe you start a real business. Maybe you invest in something bigger. Now you have a cushion, so you need to use it a little bit strategically. And this time, just push as hard as you can. So this is 12 to 18 months to get from 50 grand to 100 grand if you keep up this intensity. Obviously, I want to get this clear. Income is the accelerator, right? Saving alone is not going to get you to 100 grand fast. You need to increase your income very, very aggressively. And side hustles that actually scale is perfect here. So again, freelance online services, digital products, flipping stuff, content creation, it doesn't matter. Things where your time isn't the only input needed, okay? And then negotiate raises if you so please, if you can, switch jobs if you have to. I don't care about that. The fastest way to increase income is typically changing companies. So don't be loyal to a company that's underpaying you. Build that cash flow on the side. This is what changed the game for me, right? This is where I started making 10 grand a month on my own. And then some mistakes to avoid. Please, for the love of God, do not do this. Don't buy a new car when you hit the 30 grand. That's the dumbest, stupidest thing you could do. Don't upgrade your lifestyle too early. Don't panic sell either during market dips. You only sell when you actually, or you only lose when you actually sell. You're only down when you actually sell. Don't do that. And then also don't ignore or get comfortable about income growth and only focus on saving. You can't keep money sitting in a savings account earning nothing while your inflation destroys it, and you're not earning income to offset that, right? Every one of these mistakes will reset your progress and genuinely add years to your timeline, and I obviously don't want you doing that. So I know I said this earlier, but your first 100 grand is legitimately the hardest money you'll ever make. It is a bitch. It requires discipline most people won't have. It requires a ton of sacrifice most people just won't do. It's going to need you to be consistent, but after you hit it, I'm telling you from experience, the game changes completely. You change as a person. You breathe better air. Everything is just a little bit lighter when you've got that money working for you in the background. Opportunities open up. Your next 100K happens faster and then faster again, and it just continues to just put boost on itself, right? Most people, they quit too early. They quit at 20 grand, 40 grand. They quit right before the freaking explosion happens. Don't be that person. You have everything you need to do this. If you're watching this video, you've got a freaking internet connection. You've got a means to make some type of money online through your phone, okay? Just 2 to 3 years. 2 to 3 years, you could be living genuinely a completely different life from now. You could have 100 grand for you, working for you while you sleep. So if you're interested in starting a cash flow business, like I said, apply below. I'll walk you through that. You have options and freedom that most people will never experience. I want you to be able to take advantage of that. So as always, if you made it this far, I want to see you, and I will see you in the next one. Comment below if you have any questions, and I hope to see you soon.